The Minnesota Timberwolves are NBA championship contenders, and for whatever reason, people just don't want to give them that respect. They are a really, really good team. This is a nucleus that is young and growing and developing, and they're running it back with a team that just made back-to-back Western Conference Finals, led by their 23-year-old megastar Anthony Edwards. They've got young guys growing and developing as we speak, and then a nice nucleus of older veterans as well. They re-signed Naz Reid over Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and this squad is legit. Like I said, they can go a solid 10 deep. This will probably be the final year of the Mike Conley era at the starting point guard, but they still have Ant, Jaden McDaniels, and Julius Randle as a nice young trio there, and then Rudy Gobert anchoring back-to-back top 5 defenses. And then off the bench, this is where things get exciting because it's a really, really good young group that at times could be better than the starting 5, depending on who's hot and who's not. They also have Yan Bieg, their rookie out of France. And of course, this team is led by a 23-year-old megastar Anthony Edwards, who is coming off a season averaging 27.6 points a game, 5.7 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 1.2 steals in 36 minutes while shooting 45% from the field and 40% from 3 on 10.2 attempts. A historic season for a guy that is most known as a slasher. He's the guy that's supposed to get downhill, and here he is shooting 40% from 3 on 10.2 attempts a game. They also have Jaden McDaniels, who I think is going to be very, very underrated. There's probably going to be a separate video coming on Jaden McDaniels soon, because if he can get into his bag and develop a little bit more next year into a true offensive force, he could be deadly. But then Naz Reid's the guy that just re-signed, 5 years, $125 million. Like I said, they had to pick either him or Nickeil Alexander-Walker. At the time of the re-signing, they were $15 million over the first apron and $27 million under the second apron, I should say, under the first apron. Then they go out, they re-sign Julius Randle. So they're kind of strapped for cash, but I mean, Naz Reid's a guy that averaged 14.2 points, 6 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and a block per game off the bench. He's going to work his way into that starting lineup. Depending on the game, it'll be a game-to-game basis probably per Coach Chris Finch. But he shot 46% from the field, 38% from 3, and had a good defensive impact last year. He's a guy that can switch out on the perimeter and guard, as well as having an interior presence. And like I said, the youth to this team is where they thrive. Bieg, who they just drafted, Rob Dillingham, who was the 8th overall pick in the draft just a couple of years ago. People forget that that team made the Western Conference Finals and then also had the 8th pick in the draft. And Dillingham is going to surprise a lot of people. After next year, he'll be the starter instead of Mike Conley, but he is still just going to be 20 years old heading into next season, and when he got the chance, showcased his full bag of tricks and all the talent that he's got. Tough behind the back at the free throw line right there, but then maybe my favorite player on the Wolves next year, Terrence Shannon Jr. I'm a big time Ant fan, but I think Terrence Shannon Jr. is going to be that dude. He's going to replace Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and yes, he's already going to be 25, but he proved how good he could be coming in and in very limited playing time, absolutely dominating the minutes that he played in the Western Conference Finals against the Oklahoma City Thunder. As a matter of fact, when he played, the Wolves actually outscored the Thunder in those minutes. And then you have Jalen Clark, and between Jalen Clark and Terrence Shannon Jr., that's how they're going to go out and replace the loss of Nickeil Alexander-Walker. But with these two guys coming in off the bench, and you can eventually replace Dante DiVincenzo with Jalen Clark, who will be just 23 years old next year. But between Clark and Terrence Shannon Jr., Clark replaces the defense, and Shannon Jr. replaces the offense, and then some of Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Then we got to talk about Yan Bieg, who is a really good rim runner. That's part of the reason he got drafted, is because he is so athletic. 7-footers should not be able to move as freakishly well as Bieg. Now, I didn't have him in my top 25, whereas the Wolves obviously had him almost top 15. They were extremely excited to get him, almost traded up to get him. The numbers wouldn't indicate that he is too fantastic, but 1.5 blocks in 18 minutes a game is a big thing to look at, whereas he would get 3 per 36 minutes, and then he shot 59% from the field. Only 60% from the free throw line, so a long way to go if you want to turn him into a stretch big. But right now, the raw intangibles are there. The athleticism is there. The rim running, the motor is there. It's just going to be a project pick, and they have a couple of years to turn him into something special behind Rudy Gobert. The rim protection is there. Watch him play drop coverage right here. He sticks with the guard all the way through this screen. The guard tries to drag him out. He doesn't let it happen. He goes up and rejects and volleyball spikes that ball into the front row. And I really do think he can eventually replace and replicate some of what Rudy Gobert could do for this Wolves team. Watch him in drop coverage right here. He gets completely turned around by this in and out, but he's able to flip his hips and recover. That is freakish right there. That ability to flip your hips like an NFL corner at 7 foot, that's different. And then here he is once again stunting over and then still getting the rejection. The rim protection's elite, 6'11" with a 7'4" wingspan. Like I said, the shades of Rudy Gobert are definitely there, except he's a more athletic Rudy Gobert. And we're talking about a guy in Rudy Gobert that's won 4 Defensive Players of the Year. If you're talking about somebody that can do what he can do with a better athletic ability, that's going to be scary. The motor is there, like we said. If they can teach him some offensive traits, he could be really, really good. 230 pounds, so needs to beef up maybe a little bit, but like I said, it's all there, and it's just going to be about how much they can develop him into what they want to turn him into. Kind of like what the Hornets did with Tijan Salon, kind of like what we're seeing with like Noah Essenio. The potential is there, and that's why they're swinging for the fences here. And no, he's not going to play a lot next year, but if he's doing stuff like this, ripping through and driving baseline and then going up over the defense. Watch him right here. He's going to go high pickup over the defense, or low pickup, excuse me, and then go up for the dunk in the and one. If he's doing stuff like that, just watch out at the next level, because he is going to be that dude. Here he is catching off the pick and roll. He's going to be a guy that, yes, he's not going to play a lot next year, like I said, but if he can develop, they can then move on from that big-time contract Rudy Gobert is on, while Béranger is still on his rookie deal. You still have Naz Reid, so you still have 2 centers, and then you can use that money elsewhere to maybe go out and get another point guard, or go out and get more wings to play around Anthony Edwards. And as you know, in the modern NBA, you just need depth, depth, depth. Watch this play right here where he's going to hedge the screen all the way out and then recover back to the post and go up and volleyball spike this off the top of the backboard. And then right here, driving baseline and going up off of 2. Borderline questionable travel, but we'll let him get away with it for now as he rips through and gets baseline right here, makes the defender almost fall as he blows by him. And then the cut right here. He's a smart cutter, and then the up and under as well. That's where you really like what he can bring to the table on offense. But like I said, he is still a super raw prospect. By no means is he NBA ready. However, you watch the film, the slow 1-2 right there, and it gets you really, really excited about what he could potentially be in the future. However, like I said earlier, there's absolutely no way he plays or starts over Rudy Gobert next year. Rudy has his spot secure. Like I said, he is the leader of a back-to-back top 5 defense, something that hasn't happened in Minnesota in a very, very long time. Béranger is 18 years old, whereas Rudy Gobert is 15 years older than him, and like I said, he's on a 3-year, $111 million contract. So maybe after next year or a couple years, if they want to get off that last year of the Rudy deal while they're trying to pay other guys other money, then yeah, you can go ahead and send him off because Béranger has developed. But as for now, the 4-time Defensive Player of the Year is going absolutely nowhere. And I know y'all saw that video of Rudy trying to shoot jump shots. Don't buy it. He's not going to be shooting any jumpers this year. Like I said, I've said this multiple times in this video. They have had back-to-back top 5 defenses anchored by Gobert. First time in franchise history, that guy is going nowhere. Now, I did want them to go out and make a move with that 31st overall pick, especially when a guy that I had in my lottery on my big board was still on the board, in Rasheer Fleming. It didn't quite happen that way, though. If they would have got Fleming, I would have already made 150 Timberwolves videos heading into next year saying they're going to win the championship. But I still like them even without Fleming. They were able to replenish their draft capital in the second round. And yeah, this is still a very, very complete team that I am very excited about and very high on for next year. With that being said, that's going to be it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button. Leave me a comment down below and hit that subscribe button if you did enjoy at any point. And with that being said, thanks so much for watching today's video.